Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranams.
Hare
Krishna devotees, welcome all of you for the today's morning program. And today we are very fortunate to have His Grace Aniruddha Seva Prabhu, and Prabhu will enlighten us on Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, chapter 24, verse 56. Over to you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Sorry, verse 61. Sorry. Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, 61. Yeah, 61. We'll start with the prayers first. Just Hare Krishna. We'll start the prayers. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanam Jana Brajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yashodanam Jana Brajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Shama Sundar Radha Shama Sundar Radha. Jaya Radha Murlidhara Radha Murlidhara Radha. Jaya Radha Ramana Radha Ramana Radha. Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe. Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Jagannatha. Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Jagannatha. Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram. Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram. Jaya Vrindavan Dham Jaya Vrindavan Dham. Vrindavan Dham Jaya Vrindavan Dham. Jaya Gauranita Jaya Gauranita. Gauranita Jaya Gauranita. Jaya Pancha Tattva Jaya Pancha Tattva. Pancha Tattva Jaya Pancha Tattva. Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva. Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva. जय विष्णु परम सुप्रतिका अष्टोत्तर सदा समष्टि जन गए सभा चरण भक्ति धम श्री प्रपाद महाराज की जय। इस्कॉन संस्थापक श्री प्रपाद महाराज की जय। कृष्ण कृपामूर्ति श्री प्रपाद महाराज की जय। जगत गुरु श्री प्रपाद महाराज की जय। जय विष्णु परम सुप्रतिका अष्टोत्तर सदा समष्टि जन गए भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। अनंत कोटि आचार्य वृंद की जय। नमः श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद ट्रांसलेटेड बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की जय। ऑल ग्लोरीज टू assembled deities, all glories to assembled deities, all glories to assembled deities, all glories to all glories Shri Guru Gauranga Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol Hare Krishna. So I welcome all the devotees for today's Srimad Bhagavatam discussion class Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. So we'll start with the prayers. Om Agnana Timirandhasya Grananjana Shalakya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamahyam Tatati Swadantikam Vande Ham Shri Gurun Shriuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Sha Shri Rupam Sagrajadam Saganaragana Tanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitam Sha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radhakanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Shabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriya Vancha Kalpatarupasha Krupa Sindhu Vyavasha Paditanam Bhavane Vyavashavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktaranda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Please repeat. Will repeat after me the shloka. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jemudhiret Nashtaprayesha Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevayam Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Hare Krishna. So we are taking the shloka number 61 from the 4th canto and the 24th chapter. So this is a chapter titled, actually the canto is titled Creation of the Fourth Order, and this chapter is titled, this is about Shiva's songs, his glorification of the Lord. And this chapter contains the very, very famous Rudra Geetam. So that is why we are in the midst of this Rudra Geetam where Shiva is glorifying the Lord. So I think most of you have come across the previous shlokas where the glorification is done of the Lord. And now we are in this almost in the end. So we'll see what the shloka, this shloka talks about. Yo maya yedam puru rupaya srajad बिभर्ति भूया क्षपयति अविक्रियः यद्भेद बुद्धिः सदिवात्मदुष्टाय त्वमात्मतन्त्रं भगवान् प्रतीमहि यो मायायेदं पुरुरूपया सृजात् बिभर्ति भूया क्षपयति अविक्रियः यद्भेद बुद्धि सदिवात्मदुष्टया त्वमात्मतन्त्रं भगवान् प्रतीमहि. So synonyms, translation purport written by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Yeah, one who Mayaya, by his energy, idam, this, puru, manifold, rupaya, manifestation, asrijat, created, vibharti, maintains, bhuyaha, again, kshapayati, annihilates, avikriyaha, without being altered, yet that, veda buddhi, sense of differentiation, sat, eternal, iva, like, atma dusthaya, giving trouble to oneself. Tvam, unto you, Atmatantram, fully self-independent. Bhagavan, O Lord, Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prati Mahi, I can understand. Translation. My dear Lord, you have manifold energies, and these energies are manifested in manifold forms. With such energies, you have also created this cosmic manifestation, and although you maintain it as if it were permanent, you ultimately annihilate it. Although you are never disturbed by such changes and alterations, the living entities are disturbed by them, and therefore they find the cosmic manifestation to be different or separated from you. My Lord, you are always independent, and I can clearly see this fact. Purport. It is clearly explained that Lord Krishna has multi-energies which can be grouped into three, namely the external energy, the internal energy, and the marginal energy. There are also different cosmic manifestations, namely the spiritual world and material world, as well as different types of living entities. Some living entities are conditioned and others are eternally free. The eternally free living entities are called nitya mukta, for they never come in contact with the material energy. However, some living entities also are conditioned in this material world, and thus they think themselves separated from the Supreme Lord. Due to their contact with the material energy, their existence is always troublesome. Being always in distress, the conditioned soul considers the material energy to be very much disturbing. This fact is explained by a Vaishnava Kavi or a poet. Krishna Buli se jiva anadi bhairmukha ateva maya tare deya samsara dukha. When the living entity forgets the Supreme Lord and wants to enjoy himself independently, imitating the Supreme Lord, he is captured by the false notion that he is the enjoyer and is separated from the Supreme Lord. This material energy is therefore very much troublesome to the spiritual energy, the living entity, but the material energy is never troublesome to the Supreme Lord. Indeed, for the Supreme Lord, both material and spiritual energy are the same. In this verse, Lord Shiva explains that the material energy is never troublesome to the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord is always independent, but because the living entities are not independent due to their false idea of becoming independently happy, the material energy is troublesome. Consequently, the material energy creates differentiation. Because the Mayavadi philosophers cannot understand this, they want to be relieved from the material energy. However, a Vaishnava is in full knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He finds no disturbance even in the material energy. This is because he knows how to utilize the material energy for the service of the Lord. In the government, the criminal department, the civil department may appear different in the eyes of the citizens, but in the eyes of the government, both departments are one and the same. The criminal department is troublesome for the criminal, but not for the obedient citizen. Similarly, this material energy is troublesome for the conditioned soul, but it has nothing to do with the liberated souls who are engaged in the service of the Lord. Through the Purushavatara, Mahavishnu, Supreme Personality of Godhead, created the whole cosmic manifestation. Simply by breathing out all the universes, the Lord creates and maintains the cosmic manifestation as Lord Vishnu. Then, as Sankarsana, he annihilates the cosmic manifestation. Yet, despite the creation, maintenance, and destruction of the cosmos, the Lord is not affected. The various activities of the Lord must be very disturbing to the tiny living entities, but since the Lord is supremely great, he is never affected. Lord Shiva or any other pure devotee can see this clearly without being blinded by Bheda, Buddhi or differentiation. For a devotee, the Lord is the Supreme Spirit Soul. Since he is supremely powerful, his various powers are also spiritual. For a devotee, there is nothing material. For material existence only means forgetfulness of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna. Om Gnan Timirandasya Gnananjana Shalakya Chakshramilitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Hare Krishna. So this is a glorification by Lord Shiva on the Lord's manifestation, in the sense that when we all know the background of this, that when the prachetas were to be given the direction, guidance, so Lord Shiva comes there and then he tells them about the glories of the Lord, and he advises them that you 10 of you, all noble sons and coming from a very, very exalted devotee, Barhisat or Prachin Barhi, so you have to now take the next step. The next step is that you have to glorify the Lord, worship the Lord, Krishna. And as we know that these prachetas were so exalted that they also actually were bigoted for expanding the population, but they denied. They said that no, it's something very impure. We will not do impure or contaminated jobs. We want to be pure. We want to be transcendental, and we want to achieve our life goal in this very lifetime. So like that, and they stuck to their vows. So that is how they get the blessings of Lord Shiva. And then now Shiva, realizing that yes, this is also the right time that I should glorify the Lord. So he starts, and I think it starts from the shloka 34. So initially, Lord Shiva glorifies. It starts with this actually. You are the Lord, you are the origin of creation by virtue of the lotus flower which sprouts from your navel. You are the supreme controller of senses and sense objects, and you are also the pervading Vasudeva. You are most peaceful, and because of your self-illuminated existence, you are not disturbed by the 6 kinds of transformations. So this is he talks about from the creation, how Brahmaji came, and then actually Bhagavatam, as we know that from Brahmaji, when the mode of passion entered into Brahma, then comes Rudra. Rudra comes from the eyebrows, between the eyebrows of the Lord Brahma, because of his anger nature, and Rudra is born. So now when he says that, after that he also talks about the various deities in charge of the senses, in charge of the mind, all this, that is Sankarshna, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, all these are glorified. And also covers about the creation itself, how the benedictions happen. Then the Lord's glorification, what kind of ornaments he is wearing, and what is his bodily composition, postures, and what kind of jewels he is wearing. Then finally he comes to the shloka of, he comes to the fact of that what is the activity, the service, what one has to do. That is basically the devotional activity, devotional service. So, so in that 53 is very clearly evident. My dear Lord, those who desire to purify their existence must always engage in meditation upon your lotus feet, as described above. Those who are serious about executing their occupational duties and who want freedom from fear must take to this process of bhakti yoga. So it's a very, very pertinent, very relevant shloka for us. Etad rupam anudhyayam atmashuddhim abhipshatam yad bhakti yogo abhayadhaya swadharmam anutishtatham. So like this, it's a very clear indication message Shiva is also giving, that the whole purpose of for our material in the people, all those living entities in the material world, in fact, Shiva is also representing one of them because he is also part of the material world. But at the same time, Shiva enjoys a very, very unique position that he also happens to be in the Vishnu Tattva. So it's a very, very unique situation. He's given that kind of a extraordinary position by the Lord. So we see that Shiva is always in the meditation mode. He's always worshipping the Lord, and he's always glorifying the Lord, because he is the master. Krishna is the master. But at the same time, we also have seen Shiva undergoing various situations where even he is clouded by the Maya's interactions, and there are so many instances where he gets affected by this Maya, illusory nature. And the classic example is of that when Lord had to take the Mohini avatar, and behind the Mohini avatar, even Shiva got attracted to that exquisite form of the Mohini, and then he went behind her. And then we also come across so many pastimes of Shiva where he succumbed to certain material urges. Like, for example, even in the Vrittasura pastime, Bhasmasura pastime. So many of the instances he had to undergo, and he had to get the chastisement, especially in the Bhasmasura pastime. Lord chastised Shiva, "Arey Baba, don't give such kind benedictions. You gave a benediction where a person, he touches somebody's head, top of the head, that that person should die. He should become ashes. So like that you have given. But you didn't realize that the same devotee can also affect you. So, and the same thing happened, that Bhasmasura came and then wanted to keep the head on top of Shiva. Shiva gave the boon, but then he was so asuric that he wanted to kill Shiva. But then Shiva devised a plan, and what he did was he took a form of a Apsara, a lady, a celestial woman, and then he was starting dancing, and that Bhasmasura was so much attracted to her that he was repeating the steps, whatever was Shiva was putting. And Shiva finally, he put his head on his hand on his head, and then thinking that Asura also will do that. And then he followed, Bhasmasura also followed that. And then since he put his hand on his own head, he succumbed, he was destroyed. So like this, wonderful pastimes of the Lord are there. We'll come to that a little later. Some more very interesting pastimes. I want to touch upon the glorification of the Shiva and how the interaction between Shiva and Vishnu or Krishna happens from various pastimes, and how with their coordination, what all great things have been achieved. And all these are actually nice reminder for us, nice lessons which gives in our own practice of the devotional service. So and then finally there is also some little mention of about how the yogic process is there, what is to be done. And after the yogic process comes this shloka. And prior to this shloka, yesterday was, I think, this: my dear Lord, the impersonal Brahman spread everywhere like the sunshine or the sky, and that impersonal Brahman which spreads throughout the universe and in which the entire universe is manifested is you. So this is a shloka which was done yesterday. So is actually highlighting the impersonal form, the Brahma Jyoti or the Brahman realm, which is there, which is basically the effulgence of Krishna. But then most people in this material world mistake that Brahma Jyoti or the Brahman effulgence as everything, because he's spread everywhere, and then it is just like the sun which is there, but the sunshine is spread all over the universe. It covers 2-3 universes. That's why Gayatri mantra talks about these 3 lokas: Bhur, Bhuva, Swaha. That's Savitur Varenyam. So all that is there. So like this, it is spread throughout, and because it is spread throughout, because it is everywhere, so most of the Mayavadis and the the impersonal believers, they think that yes, Lord, this is Lord, this is the energy of the Lord. And one more fact is that as Vishnu, the specific meaning of the Vishnu is that he is all pervasive. He is present everywhere. So that is the Supreme Lord. That is the Vishnu. So even Rigveda talks of this shloka in Rigveda, which is glorifying the Lord. So in that Rigveda, we get this shloka, which is directly referring to Vishnu. So this is the shloka which is recited. Tad Vishnu paramam padam sada pashyanti suryaha diviva chakshura tatam. So in this, it is very clearly mentioned, Tad Vishnu, unto that Vishnu, paramam padam, and he is the ultimate abode. His lotus feet is the ultimate destination. Sada pashyanti suryaha. Always, the suryaha here means actually devotees. So exalted devotees. These are the devotees. All devotees are always there looking at this, are seeking to reach there. That is what it is. And also suryaha also is mentioned to the is related to the Surya. In fact, it's a comparison, just like how the sun is spread, sun is there at one place, but his energy, his light, radiation is spread, and because of that, the entire living entities are surviving. Just we can even imagine a single moment where if the sun is not present, if the particles of the sun, the energy, the rays of the sun are not there, then none of the life can exist in this planetary systems. So this. So just like how Surya is there, sun is there, taking care of all the living entities, giving them the food, giving them the shelter, the energy, the photosynthesis for the plants, everything happens because of Surya, his rays. Diviva chakshusha atatam. So this is compared to the Lord Vishnu also. Similarly, the Lord is taking care of all the living entities. So he is the one who is creating all the living entities. From him comes all the life. At the same time, he is the one who is taking care. It's only in between we are thinking, because of the delusory nature of the Maya, that we are taking birth, or we are giving birth to our children. We become parents, and then they give birth to another set of children. So like that, we are thinking that we are trying to do. We are the kartaham iti manyate. So that's what. And even in this sloka also, it is saying that we think the living entities are disturbed by them, therefore they find we different. I think we read that somewhere. Or Prabhupada is mentioning that we are thinking that we are the creators, but actually that's not the fact. Actually, that's not the fact. So this way, we can understand how Vishnu is the one who is the supreme authority. And but the very interesting fact comes here is that Vishnu's name is glorified in Rigveda, but there is no direct reference of Krishna in the any of the Vedas. I mean, there is a reference of Shama, there is a, but not directly Krishna. So now, because Vishnu is mentioned there, so generally people take that opinion that Vishnu is the Lord, yes, supreme, and then from him comes all this avatara. So that is how many of the Mayavada philosophers, impersonalists, come to the conclusion that from Vishnu comes all the forms, the Dashavatara especially. But in fact, they don't realize, they don't understand that behind Vishnu, how did Vishnu come in the first place? How did Mahavishnu come in the first place? That Mahavishnu came from actually Krishna. So that fact is actually not not appreciated, or probably again by their own individual will, thinking and all that, they forget to identify the fact that actually everything is a manifestation of Krishna. So in fact, in the Mayavada philosophy and the Shiva bhaktas, for them, as Shankaracharya proposed, it is actually, I mean, Shankaracharya, as you know, again is the direct incarnation of the Lord Shiva. And he came for a specific purpose. What was that specific purpose? That he, because before that, when Shankaracharya appeared somewhere in 700 or 800, year 800, around that time, that is about 1200 years back, there was so much of, before that, Buddha had already incarnated. So Buddha's a lot of followers were there. Then Jainism was there. And as we know, both of them practiced very strictly the ahimsa, that non-violence should be there. Buddhism also, and then Jainism also. So most of them were getting converted to this. But unfortunately, both of them, Buddha and as well as Jain Tirthankara, Jain Mahavir, they were not in favor of Vedas. Of course, the times, place, and circumstances was not in that alignment. So they were not glorifying the Vedas. So Vedas was being slightly sidelined. And now to come back, to bring back that Vedic culture, to bring back that Vedic knowledge, to bring back the glories of the Vedas, so Lord Shiva had to come as Shankaracharya, and Shankaracharya started glorifying the Vedas, and then he formed all the mutts all over the 4 places, and then he proposed this Advaita philosophy, that Aham Brahmasmi, Brahma Satya, so Jagad Mithya. So all these kind of philosophy he propounded. Basically, it was to counterattack the ahimsa part, and so like this is there. Now he proposed 5 pancha upasaka. So there are 5 deities that should be worshipped, or the 5 personalities should be worshipped. The first one, as we know, because it is a Shaiva Sampradaya, so he started with Shiva and Parvati. Then it is Ganesha, and then Surya Dev, and then the 5th one became Vishnu, Vishnu. So like this, it started. Now, it's very interesting that in most of the Vedas and all the scriptures, Vishnu's name is there. So, and Vishnu is the Yajna Purusha. So now if any offering of oblations has to be given, Vishnu has to get that, because he is actually the ultimate recipient. But because Shiva's mood was that he had to take control of his own devotees, and generally people who are in the tamasic world, because as a Guna Avatara, he's taking care of the Tamoguna people. So, the people had to consider Shiva, Parvati as the supreme, and then Vishnu as one of the subordinate gods. But still, they are a part of it. So it's become a amalgamation or integration of a little bit of major portion of Shiva Bhakti, Shakti Bhakti, and Vishnu. So like this, the devotees are there. And then as far as in the Shiva Bhaktas also, there are Shaktas, there are direct Shiva Bhaktas, and there are Smartas. So Smartas are the ones who are more into Karma Kanda. For them, Brahman effulgence is considered very, very ultimate. And there are direct, very hardcore Shiva Bhaktas who want a place in Kailas, despite the conditions, harsh conditions or cold conditions, whatever it is. But yeah, they want to be residing in the Kailas. And there are others who are believers of Shakti, Uma, Durga, Parvati, and they want the residence and under her shelter. So like that, it has become very distributed. The energies have become distributed, and each one have got their own philosophies, and they have their own destinations. And as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 9th chapter, Yanti Deva Vrta Yanti Pitru Deva Pitru Yanti Then Bhuteja, those who are worshippers of Bhuta, they will get that destination. Madhyajinopi yantimam. Whereas people who worship me, they come to me. So like that, the destinations are also created, and they fulfill their, as per their desires, as per their understanding of the concept of these energies of the Lord, they get the result. Yeah. So here, Lord Shiva is glorifying about the Lord's energy. As you know, there are three energies: the external energy, which is basically the Bahiranga Shakti, which is the Maya Shakti. Then we have the internal energy, which is the Antaranga Shakti, which is basically that energy, which is the embodiment, spiritual embodiment, which we find in the form of Srimati Radharani. And then we have the marginal energy, which is basically the Tatastha Shakti, it is called, which is basically the living entities, which is all those entities which can either shift to the external energy, and they can either shift to the internal energy. They can either be in the under the control of Maya, or serving Maya, Maya Shakti, or they could, be under the shelter of the Daiva Shakti, which is the internal energy, the Antaranga Shakti. That is basically the Bhakti, Krishna Bhakti Yoga. So they can always alter between these two situations. And the more they are in the shelter, take the shelter of devotional Bhakti Yoga, then they are protected by Krishna and his devotees. But if they fail to do that, and if by chance they get attracted by this Maya, by the various attractions, and if they make a mistake, then they might get attracted to the Maya Shakti. So this way, and the ones they are getting attracted to the Maya, they'll become entangled, as you know. Yeah, so Prabhupada talks here about these three energies, and then how the niti muktas are those who are eternally liberated, and they will never come in touch with material energy, Prabhupada says. So they are nitya siddhas, what we call. There are so many acharyas in our sampradaya, and so many devotees who came, when they came along with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we can see that they are completely eternally liberated. But because they had to enact the role, like for example Haridas Thakur, and then so many all our Goswamis, and then the Panchatattva, all the personalities, all of them were actually liberated. The other Pandit, Srivas Pandit, Advaita Acharya, they were all eternally liberated. But still, to become a part, to complete the intention, to fulfill the desires of the Lord, they came, enacted their role, like how we see in a drama. They came, and then they went back to the Lord's, again engaged in Lord's service. So they are the ones who are never getting affected by this material contaminations, and they remain pure, and they perform their pastimes and then go back. So whereas the others are called the nitya bhadas, that is why it is called conditioned souls, fully conditioned souls. Like typically we as a human being, and then we devotees are also in that to some extent fall into that category. Due to our contact with material energy, our existence is troublesome. So being distressed, we try to find various solutions, and then we struggle. So there is a shloka, Maya tatam idam sarvam jagat avyakta murtina. So this is how the living entities are struggling in this material world, and then they are trying to come out of the situation. Maya tatam idam sarvam jagadavyakta murtina mat sthani sarvabhutani na chaham teshva avasthitah. I think it is 7, 4. So in the 7th chapter, we have the shloka. The 4th shloka talks about all the energies, is separated energies, which is the Panchabhuta. And then here, that is the one which is talking about this shloka. Apare mitaswanyam vidhime prakriti vidhime param jivabhutam mahabaho edam dharyate jagat. So here, the 4th shloka talked about all the gross energies, which is basically the Pancha Bhuta, which is the Bhumirapo Nalavaya, Tham Mano Buddhi Revacha, Ahankara Vimudatma, Ahankara Itiyam Bhinna Prakriti Ashtada. So here it talked about the 5 Panchabhutas, then along with Buddhi, then Ahankara. These are all considered as the separated energies. It's all Krishna's energy, the mind, intelligence, and false ego, all together becomes the separated material energies. Then in the next shloka, he talks about the Jivabhuta, who are the Aparayam, that inferior energy, Apara, Itastvanyam, Prakritim Vidhime Param. So they're all in this Prakriti, but still it is considered very superior of mind, which is that Jivabhuta Mahabaho. It's a Jivabhuta. Mahabaho is referred to Arjuna. Yeyedyam dharyate jagat. And what these guys are doing, their living entities are exploiting the resources of the material nature, which although it is of inferior nature. Dharyate jagat. So like this, we can understand how this material energy is so in this shloka. So when we talk about this exploitation, at the same time, then Prabhupada gives this: when the living entity forgets the Supreme Lord and wants to enjoy himself independently, imitating the Supreme Lord, he is captured by the false notion that he is the enjoyer and separated from the Supreme Lord. So this is a very, very important and very, very pertinent for us, that when the moment we forget to be in the divine association and in the service of the Lord, and we think that we are independent, and then we also want to, because Lord is enjoying, Lord is doing so many pastimes, even we want to do. Once we come to that, when we come to the false notion of being the enjoyer, then we are affected. So that's why there is also a shloka that which talks Krishna Bhuliya Jiva. Yeah, there is also another shloka which talks about that. Krishna Bhuliya Jiva Bhogavancha Kare Pasate Maya Tare Jhapatiya Dhare. So this is it says that if suppose you forget Krishna and then want to do more of sense gratification, more of being in the material world, then there is no one who can escape the Maya's slap, Jhapatiya Dhare. So that we have to be careful, and so that is the reason why we engage in the Bhakti Yoga, to be in association of the Lord. And even before coming to KC, we have seen that how Maya is going to affect us in many ways. How we have got so many kicks, so many slaps when we are wanted to enjoy. But again, by the divine mercy of the Lord, devotees, and our own Ajnana Sukriti, we get in contact with the devotees, and then we start taking up spiritual practices. So that's the greatness of the Lord. And the more and once we come to that realization, yes, this Maya, this illusory energy is very dangerous, and it is better that I get out of this under their clutches. Then Krishna will help through his devotees, and through the books, shastras, and the the sadhu, guru, and shastra. So then once we come to that stage, after that, then he really gives us the way to the achieve happiness. Otherwise, otherwise, as Lord says in this, that it is very troublesome, this material energy. So it is better that we take our stand quickly and then start. And further, the main process is, as we know, Bhakti Yoga is the chanting of the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So as Prabhupada keeps mentioning, that we are already in the prison house. And while we are in the prison house, the prisoner should try to see, not to see how he came here. Of course, the prisoner may know, because he committed an offense, he has come here, he's imprisoned, and he has to undergo some sentence. Now, the question is how he can get out of this prison. What is that he needs to do to get out of this miserable condition? So that should be his motto. And then, as we know, that many of the prisoners, once they are in the jail, they start repenting, and that's a human psychology. They start repenting, and they might also convert to becoming a good citizen. They might think in future, oh, I should not do this. So there's a 50% chance that people will repent, but there is 50% chance that people will not repent. They will still want to, even if they are released from the jail, still they will commit because the previous vasanas are there. They might commit, and not like this, they get entangled. So when we are in this prison house, it is good that we have come in contact with the devotees, in contact with ISKCON, contact with the Lord's destination abodes, like temples, and we should take advantage. And then as we know that any prisoner who has a good contact while serving also has a chance. The superintendent of the jailer notices, yes, this person is capable of being a noble citizen, and he might be reformed, because the whole purpose of punishment is for reformation. So similarly, we are in the same condition of reformation. And if we individual souls take that decision, and there is a reformation, and if that is identified by a higher authority, then immediately they will recommend to probably the ministers, to the chief minister, it might even finally go to the extent of prime minister and the president. And the president, being the highest authority, administrative authority of the country, what he does on a very, very national patriotic day, on an Independence Day or on a Republic Day or some of the occasion, he might release those prisoners. He might say, yes, you are pardoned, you are being released. You have completed maybe you have completed half of the sentence, but still, because of your good conduct, because of your good behavior, now we are going to give you a release. So like all your offenses are pardoned. So like that, if we do our role of a good devotee, take the benefit from the association, then easily possible that we can also be relieved. And Guru is there as a superintendent, as our main savior. Guru comes, and then he can pick up that soul, and then he can recommend it to the higher authorities, and finally he can put us into back to our original place. That is a spiritual world. Yeah, and then further Prabhupada talks of how this material energy is also required. And as we discussed that, we may think, oh, why jail is there? Why a prison house is there? Why people have to undergo suffering? Yes, because they have done certain deeds in the past, they have to suffer. So it is not that this jail should not be there. Jail should be there because there is a place for punishment required. Otherwise, people will go scot-free and they can commit more crimes. So like that, similarly, the government, the criminal department and civil department may appear different in the eyes of citizens, but in the eyes of the government, both departments are one and the same. So for the Lord, for the government, for the judge, convict is also same, and non-convict is also the same. One who is affected party, one who is not affected party. Both of them are the same. He sees them with equal vision because he is the one who has to give the judgment. So like that, government is also very typically unbiased. So it doesn't consider that the jail or criminals are completely bad and they have to be, they have to be eradicated. No, it is not possible. They have to be there, but they are controlled separately through the means of the government, through the agencies. They are controlled separately. This similarly, the material energy is troublesome for the conditioned soul. That's it. But it has got nothing to do with the liberated souls who are engaged in the service of the Lord. So here, through the Purusha Avatara, Mahavishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, created the whole cosmic manifestation. Simply by breathing out all the universes, the Lord creates and maintains cosmic manifestation as Lord Vishnu. So this is how we come to that. I also talked earlier about the Mahavishnu as how he is creating, and all the avatars, they all are manifested through the agency of Mahavishnu in this material world. Krishna never comes in his own, as an avatar. He sends it through Lord Vishnu, Mahavishnu. So through Mahavishnu, all incarnations are happening. Because Krishna never leaves Vrindavan. He's always fond of Vrindavan, the Gopabalas, the Gopika Striyas, the Ras Leela, and because the whole identification of Krishna is the prema bhakti, enjoying in this, completely immersed in the prema bhakti, in the highest form of conjugal love, and and sakya rasa, little bit of vatsalya rasa. So he's not conditioned by the other rasas. He's totally into he's a total enjoyer of this prema madhurya rasa. And finally, Prabhupada says that the various activities of the Lord must be disturbing to the tiny living entities, but Supreme Lord is Supreme Great. He is never affected. So Lord is not affected. He's the one who is framing everything, all the rules and regulations, and just like the king is controlling the whole kingdom, his kingdom, and whatever king says, that has to follow. There's nobody who can object to him, nobody who can raise a voice. If they raise, also that might be handled in a different way through the sources of nyaya, niti, and all that. But a king is something. His orders or his decisions are sacrosanct. Nothing can be changed. At the same time, the king, although he's there in his palace, but he is controlling the entire administration of the various departments. It could be land department, it could be water department, it could be electricity department, it could be revenue, it could be health. Any of the department, he's still there. His agencies are present. Like for example, the court is there. Just once the seal or the stamp of the judge will give us the verdict. But it might, or we say of gazette, any decisions taken, policy framework is there. It all comes from the official gazette. Official gazette may be printed and might be getting composed in some different office. So it does not mean that they are the ones who are the authority, or they are the ones who are controlling, and they are the ones who are governing. No, the authority is given by the king. So king's presence is there, and if they are putting a stamp, the government seal, it is just that physically they are doing, but the authority is given by the Supreme Lord, by the king. So like that, you have to understand the Lord's agencies and his energies are present everywhere. For a devotee, the Lord is the Supreme Spirit Soul. Since he is supremely powerful, his various powers are also spiritual. For a devotee, there is nothing material. For material existence only means forgetfulness of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is the thing. As much as possible, we have to remain in the association of the devotees and the association of Sadhu, Shastra, and Guru. Then for him, it will not be a tough place to live. And also, as Rupa Goswami has mentioned, that how we have to lead a Yukta Vairagya, life of renunciation. Renunciation does not mean that we have to renounce whatever material wealth we have or whatever facilities are there. Generally, Mayavada philosophers and Mayavadas, they don't want to get in contact with the material world, and they start renouncing. So according to them, renounce means they just ignore, and then they want to stay away. For example, if the facility is there for a good auditorium is there, which has all the multimedia facilities and it has all the facilities, but they think that these are all material. If suppose a microphone is there, why I should use the microphone? Microphone is material. Mobile phone is a material. So let us renounce it. So this way they try to do the tyaga, but actually that is not the tyaga. The problem is they are thinking that these assets are all owned by me. Because they're thinking it is owned by me, so think that this is the ultimate form of renunciation. If they renounce like this, they are not perfect. They become perfect, and they are getting unattached to the material world. But actually, that Prabhupada also mentioned, and Rupa Goswami also mentioned, that is actually a false understanding. Actually, the fact is that first of all, you are not the owners. If you are the owners, then you can think of like that. But everything is owned by the Lord Himself. When everything is owned by the Lord, where is the question of ownership, our ownership? Yes, but in the practical life, we earn money, we acquire some wealth, and then we think, and then we register in our names and think that we are the owners. But actually, we are not the owners. Who gave that wealth? Who gave that riches? It is all, if we go look back, it is actually the mercy of the Lord. Lord has provided it, and we are enjoying. So we are just caretakers in this material world. Whatever riches, wealth is there, we are just for leaseholders. Up to the time we are alive, we take care of it, maintain it, and then give it back. And then after we die, what happens? It just transfers. It goes to somebody else. It is the children, legal hair, so many possibilities are there. So like that, we have to understand that first of all, we are not owning. So where is the question of renouncing? And the best part, what Prabhupada gave us and Rupa Goswami gave us, is that try to utilize. If you have an auditorium, if you have a microphone, if you have a mobile phone, if you have a laptop, if you have something, but utilize it in the service of the Lord. Convert it. This material energy can be, apparent material energy can be converted into spiritual energy, and then start preaching, make devotees, and spread the message. So this is the perfect way of understanding, and which is called the Yukta Vairagya. So there we are utilizing everything, although it appears material, but we are utilizing it in the service of the Lord. Then that way we can advance further and then be under the shelter. And any manifestation happens, it will all be the mercy of the Lord. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Prabhu. I think I'll end here. If anybody has any questions, any doubts, they can discuss it.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thanks a lot for wonderful explanation of the verse. It was really wonderful at the end, like the way you mentioned the Tyagi, so-called Tyagi, and how to utilize everything in the service of Lord.
Haribol.
Thank you, Prabhuji. And devotees lines are unmuted. They can unmute and ask any questions or comments. Hare Krishna devotees, any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you for your wonderful class, Prabhu. Prabhu, Nitya Baddhas, how are they all, forever bound? Like, can you please explain a little more, Prabhu?
Yeah, so Nitya Baddhas, as Prabhupada also mentions, that what is that, Prabhupada? You mentioned Nitya Baddhas. Can you repeat it?
No, are they forever bound?
Okay. Yeah, Nitya Baddhas are forever bound because that the very definition is that they are Nitya Baddha. Baddha is bound, conditioned, entangled. Yes. So this is again, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati coined that words like fully conditioned soul, all fully, conditioned soul. So now this is the situation generally, that when a person comes into the material world, that is his nature, that is his the so-called designation or the swarupa. But the thing is that this situation of Nitya Baddha can be changed, because as I discussed earlier, we are in the marginal energy. We have a chance to oscillate. We can oscillate between we can go to the spiritual realm, or we can be in the material realm, in the material world. So we have an opportunity. So it all depends on that jiva. If that jiva takes to the task of trying to remain in the spiritual world, just like a fish, how the fish, if it remains in the water, in that natural environment where it can survive, it will survive for a long time to come. But if it is put out of that water, it is suffer. It is not going, because they cannot breathe. The fins will not work. And without the oxygen entering to their life force, that's it. They will die because they're outside the water. So in the same way, we living entities also have got this fantastic opportunity to stay in the spiritual world. But of course, it is a very, very tough job. But if we are now, that is the reason why we take up to this spiritual cause, to the spiritual movement. We entered into ISKCON. We took the guidance of our seniors, our gurus, and our Prabhupada, and again all the Sampradaya-acharyas, and finally Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Krishna. So this opportunity is there. So when that comes, when we take under their shelter, and when we purify ourselves, our existence, by performing the devotional activities as much as possible, then it is possible that we also can become Nitya Mukta. That is how we get our Swarupa. Actually, our real Swarupa, the nature of the soul, what? It is Jiver Swarupai, Krishnera, Nitya Das. That is our original constitution position. But because we are in contact with the material energy, our life becomes troublesome. And the more we get involved in the material activities, the more we get entangled. So that way, it gets, it's a difficult proposition, and life becomes more complicated the more we indulge in materialistic way of life. Correct? I mean, that's all we have seen. It's all we have experienced. So that way, this Nitya Baddha, but people who are not surrendered, Daivesha Gunamai, Mama Maya Duratyaya. So people who are completely deluded by this Maya agency, Daivesha Gunamai, Mama Maya Duratyaya, Mamevaya Prapadante, Maya Metam Taratite. So those who are surrendered, who can surrender to Krishna, they can come out of this Maya Shakti, Maya energy. So that's a simple process, is Bhakti Yoga. Hare Krishna. So I hope I have answered, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, it looks like there are no more questions, I think. So we'll end the class with Vaishnava Pranama.
In fact, Prabhupada writes in Krishna book. Yeah. I just want to state this, and then we'll complete. Prabhupada writes in the Krishna book, especially when it comes to the appearance of Lord Krishna in that chapter, that how this Maya, Yoga Maya, in the form of Yoga Maya, how it is prevalent in this material world. See, Krishna, when he appeared in the prison house, so Krishna is the Supreme Lord. So wherever he is there is always brightness, there is always sunshine, there is always no contamination. So even the Prabhupada also gives in the quote which I mentioned, Krishna Bulya Jiva, Anadi Bahirmukha. So like that. And then wherever Krishna is there is sunlight. But if Krishna is not there, that will become the Maya Shakti, or there is darkness. So when Krishna appeared, automatically all the contamination, although it was midnight, all the contaminations were subsided, and the people who are in the prison, the prison jailers and all, they fell into sleep by the Maya Shakti, and then everything happened easily for Vasudeva to take Krishna out, because Krishna dictated, I've come here, you please take me to Gokul. So everything, all the chains were shackled, whatever was the chains to Vasudeva was also released. So he went, Aramse he went. Of course, rains came, and then there was a Ganga, because Yamuna wanted to take the Charanduli of Krishna as he was born, and all the entities they wanted to. So that is how he had to pass through the Yamuna, and then he went to Gokul Dham, and then there, that moment, even Yashoda was pregnant, and then there Yogamaya appeared in Gokul, and that Yogamaya was also told that you should bring it back to the prison. So that Vasudeva kept Krishna there in Gokul, next to Yashoda, and then he took the Yogamaya, the Durga personified, to the prison house. And the moment Yogamaya was there, it appeared that there is a birth of a girl. It was my message went to Kamsa, and then he came, and then argument happens. I mean, he want to kill even that girl, but then Devaki says that no, this is a girl. Why you want to kill? Because what is predicted to you with Ashirvani is that only the male child will kill you, like this. So that time Prabhupada says that when Krishna arrived, immediately after Krishna arrived, Yogamaya also, Durga Mata also arrived. So both of them are almost, they're simultaneously, they arrived. So one is that Krishna's is the superior energy, and you have Maya's, which is marginal energy. And that is how, just like how we have Krishna devotees, Vishnu bhaktas, similarly there are Shiva bhaktas or Shakta bhaktas, the Durga upasakas. They are also there because the Durga Devi is there. And then she showed that when Kamsa was there, she showed that 8-handed form. So that is typical Durga Devi. And then there are the upasakas. So we cannot deny their existence. The Shaktas are also there. They also have their way of worshipping. But then the more we go to the Krishna Bhakti, then ultimately we can be saved. Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol. Thanks, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for the elaboration.
Thanks, Prabhu. Hari Bol. Pancha kalpatarupya कृपासिंधुभ्यो च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय।